So this is the Khoodeelaar television channel broadcasting on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Manifesto editions, accompanied by the baby angels Kajiwan and her whole family up to today. The month of October is, at least in parts of the country, allegedly observed by some of the local councils as the Black History Month. When a phrase like Black History Month is used, its understanding is necessarily dependent on the appearance on the public platform and the public domain of an assumption of knowledge on the part of what constitutes Black history. And by definition, Black history, when it was started during the 1980s, with the mainly the self-promoting frontage of the Greater London Council, Ken Lying Still Livingstone, excluded numerically the majority of the people living in the United Kingdom, even in the 1980s, who were descendants from South Asian ancestors. Because the majority of the people in the United Kingdom today, Saturday, the 5th of October 2024, is still made up of the people from the South Asian area, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Nepal is contentious because Nepal, the Nepalese man, in relation to the British Empire, have been used in a very odd way as mercenaries. Mercenaries against the people of the subcontinent for the perpetuation of the British Empire. But Sri Lanka is not comparable to Nepal, but Sri Lanka is more comparable to South India, southern India, especially because of the Tamil connection. So, whatever the actual details of the demography made up of the people of South Asia, the number is many times bigger from South Asia, South India, South Asia in the United Kingdom population than the entire population of African descendants, including those coming from the Caribbean islands. And there is nothing comparable to the Black history, either month or week or year, being observed in any way as vigorously as the Black History Month is promoted by the mainly local councils. That's one limitation. The other is that the actual contents, the programs of the Black History Month are themselves based on denial of the existence of the internecine, internal hatred and hostility and disharmony in the population that can be collectively called Black either based on African descendants or directly from Africa and through Caribbean islands. The hatred and the hostility among the population called black in the United Kingdom is evident in the violence that is a daily occurrence and hatred that is a daily occurrence among these personnel. So to say that there is a pure black history that can be observed or celebrated is misleading on all substantial basis criteria. And when it is examined, observed in relation to the absence of the lives and struggles of the African people as comparable struggles and lives of the people from the South Asian subcontinent, this Black History Month becomes even less substantial. Now, the only thing that can be found in the programs, mainly, almost exclusively promoted by the local borough councils, mainly in London, inner cities, as old when the Inner London Education Authority was in existence up to late 1980s. The hostility between the employed persons of African origin, Caribbean origin, or Caribbean descendants, and even of the people from the Asian, South Asian subcontinent. The hostility they show to those others that come in to the shops/the supermarkets as customers, but with the same backgrounds as themselves as these employees, is absolutely, it is not a scandal, it's a crime. So there is no room in the programs of the so-called Black History Month for any of the realities of today, of the day-to-day battles that are not only being fought, waged, and maintained for survival as communities and as individuals against racist institutions, racist individuals. But the tests become even more tense when the hostilities and obstructions are put up by people of similar backgrounds to the targets of the hostilities. For example, let's say one supermarket has got personnel posted at payment skid and the tills. There is no management, there is no supervision, there is no accountability for the behavior of the personnel employed by the organization, the supermarket. And you extrapolate that and apply that, let's say, look at the buses in London, because they're so large in number that the buses in London represent the buses in the rest of the United Kingdom in every description. All details are represented. So if there is a bus going through an area that is populated, mixed population mainly, and you look at the bus notice boards, what do the notices say? Let's say there are 8 different types of notices. All of those notices are about staff being assaulted, staff being abused, and the bus operators or bus controllers of the Transport for London, for example, the overall controllers, owners of the bus routes, firmly said that they won't tolerate abuse of the drivers, assaults on the drivers. Now, this is one sided completely. It assumes that it is the passengers who are at fault, who are to blame for assaults and violence against the drivers. And you extend that series of notices to apply to the London Underground system, the railway system, and the small tramways in the southwest of London. And it is the same thing. The passengers are at fault, but passengers generally being at fault is a less detrimental situation than passengers of African origin, Caribbean origin, South Asian origin. Because for these passengers, the assumption is that they are guilty until proven innocent. And there is daily occurrences, literally hundreds of incidents, thousands of incidents happening that question and violate and deny the rights of these people of African origin, South Asian origin, Caribbean origins. And none of these is represented, even in a general way, in the programs of the Black History Month, because by definition, the word history is in the past. So these are the things that are in the background. Now, what are the contents of the institutionalized programs that are set up by the libraries and libraries run by the boroughs? There are topics that relate to, obviously, the past events. And those discussions that take place, or supposedly are encouraged to be taking place, are aided by the circulation of what is now recently, in the last few years, has become a kind of fixture of these events, publications of books related to history. For example, there are books about Black history. But looking at the Black history, one of the books which has been heavily promoted, whose author has been heavily promoted in the last 6-7 years by The Guardian, looking at that book, I found in the last 24 hours that this guy is, well, he has been promoted by The Guardian as the leading Black history and kind of advocate. But it's a sham. Just as I have said about C.L.R. James and Darkus Darty Howe, C.L.R. James was mentioned less directly than through the references to Darkus Darty Howe, because it was described by the white media that C.L.R. James was Darkus Darty Howe's uncle, which is absolutely a fiction. In relationship, in terms of age, he might be avuncular, but he came from one island in the Caribbean, whereas Darkus Darty Howe came from another. Now, this guy who has written the book, and I'm going to try and see if I can reach it physically. This is the book. It's winner of the PEN Hessel Tiltman Prize, David Olusogo. I'll read that again. David Olusoga. Black and British, a forgotten history. And the Observer is quoted as the main promoter of the cover. Groundbreaking. Now a BBC program. Black and British. Now, I said before, The Guardian. So all of these are really mentally subservient, mentally servile, and not black. It's black and British. The idea that there is this urge to qualify black by British negates the black completely. And there is the same thing about another book called, it's about Benjamin Zafania, activist, poet, etc., etc. And it's a version of Darkus Darty Howe. Darkus Darty Howe. I shall be examining these during the rest of the month of October 2024 and beyond, ending this particular edition at 0734 GMT or 8:34 UK British Standard Time on Saturday the 5th of October 2024.